just as it's flying towards the station. That's part of the reason we've had those great views looking at the forward hatch and where we can see the nose cone. Right now that's that little dark dot at the bottom of your screen. You can see it highlighted against the clouds as we're flying over the middle of, it might be over Russia, I think, right now. Unfortunately, my ground track map does not tell me all of the country labels, so.
It looks like we're still over Kazakhstan. We should be over Russia for a short little bit in a few minutes, and then they'll fly out over northern Mongolia, continue down, flying over northeastern China, make a pass over the Korean Peninsula, out over Japan, and by that point, they'll be in an orbital nighttime. So moving pretty quickly, a little over 17,000 miles an hour. But relative to each other, their speeds are pretty close. Dragon's only moving in at a rate of about 2.4 meters per second right now. So we're a little under 1,800 meters away from the space station at this point, standing by for that mid-course burn. And at this rate, we're going to get to waypoint 0, so just 400 meters below the station in just under 22 minutes.
Yeah, and we talked about the approach ellipsoid and the keep-out sphere a little bit earlier, but around the space station there's a 4 kilometer by 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer ellipse. It's an imaginary shape around the space station, which is designed to help walking at the station. So being 400 meters below along the R bar, as Dan had mentioned earlier, will be well within that approach ellipsoid, but not quite within the 200 meter keep-out sphere around the station. So that'll happen when we get just past waypoint 1, which is waypoint 1 is at that 220 meters away from station there.
And Dragon at this very moment only a mile away from the International Space Station, so it's continuing to close in. We should be just seconds away from the start of that mid-course burn. This just to help fine-tune its path up towards waypoint 1. Or waypoint 0 rather, just 400 meters below the space station, which we'll get there in about 20 minutes. About halfway there though, the teams will do a go no go if they're just going to pass waypoint 1 and then move on to, they'll go past waypoint 0 onto waypoint 1. Try to keep everything lined up here for you, not to confuse you. We'll have 3 waypoints. It'll be waypoint 0, 400 meters below the station, waypoint 1, 220 meters out in front of the International Space Station, and then waypoint 2, just 20 meters in front of that docking port on the Node 2 forward port. And so we're going to move through all of those quickly. We should be in the mid-course burn at this point, and so Dragon just doing a slight adjustment as it continues to swing up. It's eventually going to be just 400 meters directly below the International Space Station. Bob and Doug strapped into their seats, suited up, along for the ride for now, as this is automated, but we won't be automated the whole way since this is a demo flight.
Yeah, and actually on the screen to our, I guess, on the right side of your screen, there you saw some orange blips. That represents the service section Draco engines firing. So there are 12 of those on the service section, or the trunk of the vehicle. And once we get through this mid-course maneuver, we'll probably hear some words from the core to Bob and Doug, letting them know.
That's right, and we do have confirmation that the AI mid-course, or the approach initiation mid-course burn, is underway. Again, we expect this one to last just a little over a minute, and this is again just to really fine-tune that approach.
Yeah, all of these maneuvers are pretty small at this point.
Dragon SpaceX on big loop, burn complete, nominal burn. Trajectory has converged on waypoint 0.
I can copy, nominal burn.
There's those 2 words, nominal burn. So we won't have any more significant burns, we're still going to be using those engines, obviously, for the final approach maneuvers. But at this point, Dragon now approaching waypoint 0.
Yeah, and really at this point, it's all relative maneuvers. A very slow and steady approach to the station. Of course, that small translational test with Pop and Doug commanding Dragon to do some small manual piloting maneuvers.
Things are going to start to darken, but hopefully we'll still be able to keep Dragon in view as they are crossing pretty soon into an orbital nighttime. At this moment, we're less than a mile away from station. Dragon just under 1,200 meters away, continuing to close the gap. Pretty slow rate right now, moving in at only about 1.7 meters per second. We're going to be standing by. There's going to be an internal go-no-go poll about passing waypoint 0. That should be coming up in about 7 minutes. We'll continue to listen in with the teams. We're expecting Dragon's arrival